Hey, folks, welcome to the Utah County Republican Party podcast. I'm your host, Charles Max Wood. I'm also the party vice chair, and I'm here with Matt Durrant. Matt, you're running for House District 64?
Yep, House 64.
And we did an interview a while back, and the sound was terrible, and I didn't have as good a
That's my
questions.
grovelly voice.
That's right. So anyway, so we're going to go for an hour-ish. Talk about different things and see where things are at. Just to start out, how did you get involved? What made you want to run for this office? And the other question I've been asking is, if I show up to your house tonight, knock on the door, you're like, "Hey Chuck, come on in." What does that look like? Am I tripping over kids? Am I,
Okay.
it's like,
All right.
hey, we're going to put some food in front of you and chat. Some of the folks are empty nesters. Some of them have grandkids living with them. So, kind of what's your home like life and,
Sure.
and things like that, where are you at? So, yeah. How did you get involved and what's your home like life?
Yeah. So I have been involved since a very young age. My dad's he's been involved in the party. So I grew up in Salt Lake County,
Okay.
up in Sandy. And I remember at a young age just going to the polling booth with him
Uh-huh.
and watching him vote. Um,
It's too bad we don't do that anymore.
right? I would love for that. Those are some of the questions I've gotten
I don't have that one in there. I need to put it in.
Oh yeah. So Jeff Burton,
Uh-huh.
huge on elections,
Uh-huh.
and he keeps running bills to trying to get us back to that. And so I've gotten the question, are you going to follow in his footsteps? And to a certain extent, absolutely. I don't think we're gonna truly get back to that
Uh-huh.
because there's a lot of people who like the convenience, but I'm definitely gonna push for it. Um, so let's see. Yeah, so went with my dad to those, and then started going to caucus meetings, went to conventions with him. So I've been involved for uh how old am I? 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um and for the last 10 years I've been either a county and or state delegate. And then 4 years ago I was the precinct secretary. The
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years I was a precinct, word escapes me,
Chair,
the
vice
chair.
chair.
Yeah, I was the chair.
Okay.
Stepped down so that I could do this
Uh-huh.
because I didn't think that I could do both justice, and I wanted my precinct represented.
The bylaws say that if you're in a leadership position, even the precinct chair, you have
Yeah,
to take a leave of absence anyway.
right. Yeah. So, and I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna win. So didn't see a lot of reason to run as a precinct chair again.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely want to be involved. So I've been involved, and I'd been considering running for public office,
Mm-hmm.
but what kind of pushed me to do it now versus later was Jeff Burton.
Okay.
So he came up to me and said, "Hey, I think you should run."
Uh-huh.
And that's when I really buckled down, started thinking about it, and decided, you know what, now's the time. So that's kind of what pushed me over the edge.
Yep. Well, he was in the race for a while and then he dropped out, right?
He was, yeah, he was kind of funny. So he didn't communicate that he was going to also be running still. So he got me to run, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" But then he did drop out,
Yeah.
and so,
Yep.
but yeah, he was thinking that it would be a great experience for me either
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so that's what got me involved right now versus down the road.
Uh-huh.
And he's just a great man, and he's endorsing me.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's wrote me a very nice letter, so that'll be on my website soon.
There you go. What's your life like at home?
Crazy.
I can relate. Do you have teenagers?
Not yet. So my oldest is 8,
Okay.
but I have 5 kids.
A different kind of crazy.
Different kind of crazy.
I know what that looks like though. Because I have 5 kids and the age span is 20 to 10. So
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right there. Yeah, so when you were talking about getting through the front door, I was just laughing in my head because I was like, well, if you dare to come through my front door, there's going to be toys, coats, shoes. Uh, I
I wish I could tell you that changes when they're teenagers, but it doesn't.
oh, don't tell me that. Uh, yeah, and I swear my wife and I are just constantly cleaning behind them,
Yep.
and then they're over there making a mess.
Yep. My kids had not cleaned up for so long. I went on strike. I turned off all of the devices in the
Oh,
house. Nothing connects to the internet. Their phones operate as phones and only phones.
nice.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that gets better either.
Oh boy. But it's tough, it's hard, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's a certain kind of crazy that
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
here for.
Yeah. There are days I wish I could go back.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and when when they're this age too, and I'm told it's
hmm
not as good when they're teenagers, but when I come home and I've been gone all day and they're just like, "Daddy!"
yeah.
and they just are so excited to see me. Like that is pure joy for me.
Yeah. Yeah. With my teenagers, I don't know if I'm going to get hugged or punched. So,
Right. Yeah, yeah, I'm
yeah.
not quite there yet.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get there. Yeah. And the good
So,
times are good, and
yeah.
the other times are not as good.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so busy with kids, and then uh, people make fun of me because I'm just always doing stuff.
hmm
I very rarely am I just not doing anything.
Yeah.
People get after me because they're like, Matt, you just need to relax.
I'm
So
I'm getting some of that these days too. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So always happy. So if somebody came
Yeah.
by, happy to take a break and talk to them. But otherwise, I'm doing stuff.
Good deal. All right. Well, I'm going to jump in on these questions.
Okay.
So I think the party compiled a list of like 100 questions that delegates
Yeah,
could
there were
ask.
quite a few.
And so I pulled those together. I had a couple that were kind of my own things that I was like, hey, I want some focus on this and on that. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so there's a wide breadth of things that the legislature touches, right?
So many, yeah.
And so, like when I was doing the county interviews with like the county commissioner, the county auditor, county clerk, they have a pretty narrow band of things, and so it was
Mhm.
pretty easy to kind of cover all of it.
Yeah.
With the legislature, it's tough. So some of these
They
questions are
have
going
their
to be,
hands in everything.
some of these questions are going to be rather broad.
Okay.
I get into specifics in the questions, but I really just want to kind of see how you think about these things and stuff like that.
Sure.
One question, and so I was trying to figure out how to do this if there's an incumbent in the race, and
Mm,
so I've kind of changed the question a little bit for people who are not in the
okay.
legislature now. For the people who are in, I ask, okay, so what bills are you running? What things do you have a history of championing that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Since you don't have that kind of a track record, my question is mostly if you get into the legislature, what kinds of things do you want to champion?
Right.
Like what kinds of areas do you want to fix or fight or whatever?
So honestly, I want to. So Norm Thurston.
Uh huh.
I was listening to him. I went to an event a couple weeks ago, and he was talking to the public, and he said, "You know what? I am not on the big fancy bills.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running things that are kind of boring." And honestly, that's probably a lot of what I want to do is I want
Mm-hmm.
to get in and just find regulations that are excessive and work on reducing what I
Mm-hmm.
can. So will I get on some of these higher profile ones? Probably. Like I want to get into housing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I imagine that I my role is to go in and do some cleanup.
Yeah. It's interesting because I just had Corey Malloy here.
Okay.
I'll also mention that when I do these interviews, I try really hard not to mention people's opponents
Sure.
on their interviews. But where we're talking about other legislators and stuff, I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, he talked about a couple of bills that were kind of higher profile, and then he talked about another. We talked about another bill or two that were just kind of in the weeds, like it affects
Yeah.
these people in this small way,
Right.
and right, it's not a big flashy thing,
Yeah.
but it affects people,
Right.
right? And so yeah, so you mentioned wanting to get into housing. I'm kind of curious what you're thinking there.
So I think that there, and it's such a big topic,
Uh huh.
right? A lot of questions I get, people just want quick answers like, how are you going to fix housing? but housing is a complex issue,
Hmm.
and housing prices.
Right.
Um, and so um, the two things that I see that the legislator has an immediate impact on, that they could immediately start working on, is taxes and regulations.
Okay.
And so those are things that we could start chipping away at it. And I don't think it's something where we're going to make house prices drop by $100,000 overnight.
Hmm.
Like, that's just unrealistic. But if we can do things to help bring it down 1,000 here, 500 there, by reducing some regulations, reducing some taxes, um, all those little things, they start to add up.
Right.
And if we keep chipping away at it, eventually through the years, um, it's going to start going down.
Okay. Um, so let's start here. How do you define the proper role of government, and where do you draw the line between what the government should do versus what's left to individuals or the private sector? For example, should government be in the business of funding sports arenas, developing resorts, or dictating housing density in local communities?
Great question. I love this question. So proper role of government is it's a government for the people by the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not it should not be an entity in and of itself. If there's no people to govern, there's no
Okay.
government, right? So um, government has to remember, and those in government we've got to remember that we're here by the will of the people. And in Utah, it's when you run in a Republican, especially in a Republican safe district, it's easy to forget who you're representing,
Uh huh.
because you can just think, oh yeah, I'm gonna get elected. Super easy. I can do whatever I want as long as it's not super controversial.
Right.
And I think that's the wrong mentality to have. We need to make sure that we're doing what's best for the people, and that's something where I think I have a big advantage. Is I um, feel like I'm a regular guy running for politics. I don't view myself as a politician. I have to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go to the grocery store and buy groceries. Egg prices are crazy. Milk prices. So I'm affected by these things, and so I'm going to go in with that attitude of, hey, these things that we're doing directly affect me. And so I'm going to be careful to make sure that we're making good choices. And I think that's what everyone in government should remember, is these are affecting real people.
Right.
And we need to have the the community's best interests in mind. Something that I've heard, getting to the second part of your question, is how involved. So the state legislator, I have heard and seen that they like to dictate their will on local government.
Mm-hmm.
I've been chatting with some city council members, Spanish Fork, Salem, and a big complaint is the housing density.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was passed a couple years ago. But cities are having to struggle to figure that out, and they're getting fined if they're not in compliance.
Right.
And I don't think that's the legislator's role.
Okay.
I think so. I believe in local governments,
Uh huh.
right? So the more local, the better, because they're going to not only know the needs of their community better, but also they can be more specific.
Mm-hmm.
So the state legislator, the things that we should be running and passing, should be affecting the statewide. And so if we run something that affects the entire state, it's not going to affect Salt Lake City and Spanish Fork the same way.
Right.
There's going to be differences there. And so we have to be conscious of that and understand that, yeah, what we do needs to be a little bit more broad, so that then the counties and the cities can be more specific if they choose to.
Mm-hmm.
They may say, nope, we don't want to have a specific rule about that. So, yeah, I think the cities should be able to dictate, this is how we want our community developed, this is how we want it to look like. But there should be more of a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of fighting, and the legislator deciding, hey, you're not listening to us, so we're going to make you.
Right.
And I think that there can be a lot more collaboration.
Hmm.
And what I hear is, at least Southern Utah County, is they're pretty good at that. And so I would definitely
Hmm.
want to continue that.
Okay. What about what government's doing versus what the private sector does?
Right.
So, I mean, like sports arenas or building resorts or.
I think that's so ridiculous that the government is subsidizing sports arenas or these other private endeavors. Um,
Well, hang on, because the
okay,
argument is so like the Major League Baseball
sure.
field, right?
Yeah.
So the argument is that it's going to bring in all these people from outside the state to watch the games and
Okay.
stay in the hotels and
Right.
eat at the restaurants, and
Hmm.
so we'll recoup some of that in the sales tax and other things that those people spend, right?
Okay. Well, so they're using state tax dollars for that.
Uh
So
huh.
people, say in St. George, are paying for that in Salt Lake.
Hmm.
Salt Lake is going to see the direct benefits of that. How is St. George going to see the
That's
benefits of
true.
that? So that would be my argument
Hmm.
is if Salt Lake City wanted to do something like that, um, I even though I disagree with it, if that's what those people wanted to do with their taxpayer dollars, then go for it. But to take state funds from from the majority of the population to benefit a small group. That's one of the things I was
Hmm.
talking about, like making decisions for this small group of people when it should be more broad. So,
Yeah.
so on the state level, um, if we're going to be paying for things, it needs to benefit the whole state.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. The other thing I'll point out is if your Major League Baseball franchise is profitable, then why do you need our help?
I 100% agree with that.
Uh,
Uh, well, and you didn't bring it up, but it's part of this, the Olympics.
oh, here we go. All right.
I know people love the Olympics, but again, why are we using taxpayer dollars for that? If it can be profitable on its own, why are we using taxpayer dollars?
Right. So, is there anything related to the Olympics that you'd be willing to spend state money on? I mean, like infrastructure, things like that.
Well, so I know they're using the Olympics as an excuse to build up infrastructure.
Uh huh.
And so like the front runner is getting boosted, roads are getting
Yeah.
boosted,
They're adding a second track all the way up and down Front Runner.
which is great. We've
Yeah.
needed that. So the as a Republican, my question is, okay, who's paying for that?
Right.
Where's the money coming from? So if we have money for it, um, to pay for that infrastructure, okay, we were going to do it anyway. We have the money. We're just going to bump that up.
Mm-hmm.
I would be in favor of that.
Right.
But to put it towards stadiums, which is going to benefit an event and very
Mm-hmm.
limited, like it would be like, oh, we're going to build a ski slope.
Right.
That's a very specific population that we're
Yep.
serving right there. But if you're boosting, say, I-15,
Mm-hmm.
well, that benefits a large population of the state of Utah.
Yep. Yeah. They're definitely sometimes driving on I-15 and was like, yeah, something needs to get fixed here.
Right, right.
All right. So related to that, because we talked about some of this, Utah's invested nearly $1 billion with a B billion
Yeah.
in the Smith Entertainment Group for the Delta Center. MIDA, that's Military Installation Development Agency, I think,
Okay.
originally created for housing at Hill Air Force Base, is now giving tax deferments to build hotels at Sundance and the Mayflower
Hmm.
development. And PIDs, which are public infrastructure districts,
I've learned about those recently.
allow unelected corporate board members to access public bonding and vote on taxes. Are these relationships the proper role of government, and how do you prevent corporatism from influencing future decisions?
So I'm a firm believer. Our founding fathers believed this and they went to war over it. It's the idea of no taxation without representation.
Uh huh.
And what I've learned about some of these, like especially the PIDs,
Yeah.
is you're getting taxed without representation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am absolutely opposed to that.
Right.
Um, and taxpayer dollars should be safeguarded by those who are elected.
Mm-hmm.
It It was originally designed that way, and we should keep it that way. And so when elected officials delegate vast amounts of monies to unelected bureaucracies, there's going to be corruption, there's going to be
Hmm.
waste because they are not as accountable.
Right.
And it was designed that way, and we need to get back to that. And
Yeah.
so, proper role of government is to absolutely be accountable to the people.
Yeah. I mean, there. So on the PIDs or PIDs, I agree with you on that. But what about like MIDA? So
Hmm.
MIDA was set up. They get special tax
Right,
breaks, tax deferments for things that they build and things like that. The idea was that there wasn't enough housing and other infrastructure around Hill Air Force Base
right.
for the military folks who, they're somewhat transient.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so, for them to come and live and do their military stuff and
yeah.
then, and I'm all for supporting the troops. It makes
Oh,
total sense to me.
yeah,
Let's set that up, right? But since then, it's been abused to where, yeah, there are hotels that built up at Sundance that fall under
yeah,
the MIDA,
right,
and so they're getting the tax breaks, the government bonding, and
yeah.
things like that. The Mayflower development, I can't remember where that is. The Miller Group got
Okay,
some similar stuff with the state fairgrounds, running the state
okay,
fairgrounds. The Point development, which is up here just past the point of the mountain
okay.
where the prison was,
Oh,
like
yes,
the state's given them a whole bunch of special
right.
deals to develop all of that. Utah City's another example down here in Linden.
Ah, okay.
So yeah.
Well, so I think you illustrated it perfectly. So it was set up to benefit the troops.
Hmm.
And so how it's currently being used, how is that benefiting the troops?
Right.
It's, well, maybe it could be argued that
Yeah.
there's some military people
Yeah.
going into those places,
Yeah. To be
but
clear, the Point and Utah City are not MIDA. They're something else.
oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if it was set up to be solely for to benefit the troops, then it needs to be used for the troops. So governments really like to do this. They like to have money earmarked for a certain thing, and then and they've used it for that purpose, but then they find there's extra.
Hmm.
And politicians love to spend money.
Hmm.
And so instead of giving it back to the people, or in a roundabout way,
Right.
um, they try to find ways to spend it on other things. Cities do this all the time. They like
Hmm.
to take money from the general or from special earmarked funds to the general fund so that they
Right.
can just spend it on whatever they want. So it's that idea that I'm really opposed to. Like, money was earmarked for certain things, and if you're under budget, wonderful. Great. Thank
Uh-huh.
you for being under budget. Now
Right.
give the rest of it back.
Yeah. Lower taxes and
Yeah,
hold
exactly.
on to the money. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I'm totally in favor of lowering taxes. I think we could do a lot better job of that. Be more efficient with our money, and then how many people would love to get taxes back?
Yeah.
I would.
Right.
I love when the government says, "Hey, we took too much from you."
I don't. It means I withheld too much.
Oh,
But that's my fault.
right, right, yeah,
Yeah. So another issue that we're looking at is water, right?
yes,
I mean, water's always an issue. Even when we have I remember a
tons,
couple of years ago, right? We had a ton up in the mountains and
yeah,
they were worried about flooding.
right,
This year, not so much.
yeah,
But data centers use a lot of water.
okay,
High density housing brings in more people who use more water.
right,
And so a lot of this is accelerating our water usage. And then there's the UN's One Water agenda calls for international standards like AI oversight, metering, and consolidation of water management.
okay.
So do you believe that Utah's implementing a similar agenda, and who should ultimately control Utah's water resources? And then also get into, if you can, where you would change the way that we operate with water.
Okay. Yeah. So for starters, I don't believe in foreign entities controlling us.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a fan of the UN. I've never made that a secret. I would love to get out of it. But that's a federal issue.
Right.
But for them to come down and dictate hey, this is what we want you to do with water. Like, hey, you don't know our water issues.
Usually it comes in the form of lobbyists as opposed to
Sure.
dictates.
Well, ask me how I feel about lobbyists.
Hey, Matt, how do you feel about
I
lobbyists?
am generally not a fan.
Okay.
So I understand that they can do some good,
Uh huh.
but they've got their agenda, and I'm interested to know what the people who voted for me. What do you want?
Okay.
Versus this group or entity coming and saying, "Hey, this is what we want." Well, what do the people who voted for me want?
Yeah.
So that would,
Sometimes the lobbyists have information you might want, though.
which is why I would listen to them, but I'm not going to take what they say at a higher tier over people who
Okay.
voted for me. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, a couple of years ago, I would have been like, absolutely, I'm not listening to lobbyists, but I've learned better.
Mm-hmm.
I've changed my ways.
Right.
Let's see. So, getting back to
So, what water? What do we do with water?
what do we do with water? So, first thing, we have to understand that water is a resource that you can't duplicate,
Right.
right? You can't just print more water. You can't just mine more water. Like
Yeah.
it's either there or it's not.
Yeah. It falls out of the sky, but we don't control that.
Right. We we try to. We try to play God. And there's a lot of things that we do, the legislator does to play God.
Uh-huh.
And I think that an issue that we run into is throwing more money at a problem doesn't necessarily fix it.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're throwing paper at something you can't fix.
Right.
And I think that there's many ways that we do that with water. Um, I uh, am not a fan of saving the Great Salt Lake. I think that's one of the issues where we're just throwing money at something that's uh, somebody's benefiting from it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really the Great Salt Lake.
Right.
Um, and
So, just to be clear, you're saying that the Great Salt Lake is being used as an excuse to fund other programs
um,
or other agendas?
allegedly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Somebody's
Uh-huh.
making money off of it. Somebody's being paid to do studies. Somebody's being
Right.
paid, and so the money is probably being used in legitimate ways that the legislator wanted it used for. Uh, but is that something that we should be paying for? I personally don't think so.
Okay.
Um, Now, that's looking historically at water in the state.
Mm-hmm.
The Great Salt Lake used to be, once upon a time, Lake Bonneville.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever looked it up, it covered this whole area.
Yep.
Uh,
We'd be at the bottom of it right here where we're sitting.
you bet. And I've heard some people say, "Bring back Lake Bonneville," just to kind of
Uh-huh.
prove the point. Is there are some
Right.
things that are just never coming back,
Right.
and so that's been centuries ago.
Uh-huh.
That has been Lake Bonneville, and the Great Salt Lake it's a dying lake. So
Okay.
it's a dead lake. It doesn't go anywhere. That's why it's so salty.
Uh-huh.
There's no outlets, and so it's just been doing what it's been doing. Not many people know this, but back in the 80s, they built pumps
Uh-huh.
because the Great Salt Lake was too full,
Yes, it was.
and that it was creating problems or perceived problems, and so they built these $1 million pumps
Yeah.
to pump water out into the desert.
You can still go see them. They're still
They're
there.
still active. We're still paying for them.
Yeah.
We're paying the insurance and the maintenance on them.
Yeah.
And so if the lake being dried up is an issue, why are we still paying for those?
Uh-huh.
So the lake, like we can't control the weather. And so that's my point is the lake is going to do what the lake is going to do.
Uh-huh.
And so all these efforts to dump our fresh water into a dying lake makes zero sense to me.
Okay.
So we're talking about that natural resource. So this last session, they purchased the magnesium place, which came with a crap ton of water rights. And their plan is just to take all of that and dump it into the Great Salt Lake.
They being the state.
The state legislator.
Okay.
Yeah, the state. They purchased it. And I read up on it, and it looks like it's something that we were going to have to clean up anyway.
Uh-huh.
But the idea that we're taking those water rights and that water, because, well, people want to argue about water rights.
Right.
Water rights are useless if you don't have water.
Right.
Just the simple fact of the matter.
Mhm.
So they're taking real water and just dumping it into, and once it goes into the salt lake, you can't use it.
Right.
You have to desaltinate it
Right.
first. So if we're really in the drought that we are in, and we need that water for farming, for residential, for all these other things, why are we wasting it like that? So we need to be smarter with how we're using
Hmm.
that natural resource. And so I'm opposed to things like that, saving dying things. I'm opposed to those things. Um,
What about the data centers?
Data centers. Well, so if we're smarter with our water, then we can use it better. So I'm gonna show my nerd a little bit. Are you familiar with Dune?
Dune,
Dune.
like
So the
the
movie, the
movie,
book,
the
yeah.
books. Yeah, yeah.
So they're a desert planet, and they have to be
The
really
books are really good, by the way.
right. I think I've read the book. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
just the first one though. But it's that idea where they it's so precious that
Hmm.
like even the water that they expel in their body,
Hmm.
they're recycling that.
Right.
So we're pretty wasteful with water, if I'm being
Right.
honest. We use it and then we dump it down the drain. It just goes down the line.
Hmm.
So I think that we need to just embrace the fact that we are in a desert and look at, okay, what do can we be smarter with our water? Can we recycle it better?
Hmm.
Um, there are some people who build homes to where they get the fresh water through their sink and then it goes down the sink and then that water goes into the toilet tank
Hmm.
and then that gets flushed
Right.
and then they filter that out and then that water then goes onto their garden.
Okay.
So they're using it 3 times before
Oh,
it goes
interesting.
into the ground.
Yep.
Um, Now, granted, that would take a lot to change over to that,
Right.
but I think that we need to just start embracing those things and start implementing those things to be smarter with water, like rainwater. I'm a
Hmm.
big advocate of collect rainwater
Yeah.
because if you can use that, collect the rainwater, then use that to water your lawn, water your garden, things like that. It's then eventually going to the ground,
Right.
but we're utilizing it first.
Right.
And so instead of using the water that's been treated or irrigation water, where we're capturing this resource um, and then sending it down the line. So we just need to be better and smarter about how many uses can we get out of this natural resource before we send it down the line.
Right.
So that's my
Yeah.
spiel on water.
What about data centers?
Data. Oh yes, thank you. Data center.
I've had. It's funny because I wouldn't keep asking, but I've had like 4 or 5 people ask me about it, and I'm
Yeah,
going, okay, I got to see what these legislators candidates
yeah,
think about it.
yeah. So I'll be honest, I don't completely understand how they're using it. So,
They
um,
use it for their cooling systems.
right,
I don't know a whole lot more about how those work.
right. And I've heard the term evaporative cooling used.
Hmm.
Um, and I can't believe I forgot because I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring it all home to data centers. So data centers, I think can also be very efficient with their use of
Hmm.
water.
Depending on how they're built, they can.
Depending, right. And a lot of the ones that they're talking about building in Utah aren't built yet.
Right.
So now's a great opportunity to dictate, okay, this is how we need you to build it to be very water
Hmm.
efficient. Because there's computers, certain computers that are water cooled.
Yes.
Um, and so whatever system they use, you can be very efficient with how you're utilizing that
Hmm.
water. Evaporative cooling, if you're just dumping the water on the pads and shooting that cold air and then allowing that humidity to go out into the wild, right?
Hmm.
Escape out of the building, you're
That's how
wasting
your
it.
swamp coolers work.
That's how your swamp coolers work. And it's wasteful.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a fan of data centers using water that way.
Uh huh.
That's how you're going to get a lot of waste. But if you used a closed system, I think that's going to be a lot more efficient and you're going to have a lot less water waste.
Yeah, I understand that's how most of them are built. I can't imagine evaporative cooling actually working in a data center because you'd have trouble with condensation on the electronics.
Yeah, it would be wild.
But yeah, you know, I understand they're closed loop systems, but I don't know. I don't know what the
Well,
net water usage is and how that works.
yeah, and as much as we talk about and want to not like chemicals,
Hmm.
there are certain chemicals that are better at cooling than others.
Right.
Like antifreeze in my car.
Uh huh.
It's more efficient than water. There's other things that are more efficient. Now, I understand environmentalists might not like that, but
Yeah.
I think that if we allow more things like that, as long as they're used safe, right?
Right.
Um, then they're not the system's more efficient and they're not using as much water
Hmm.
because they're allowed to use these other
Yeah.
resources to that are more efficient.
Yeah. So the other concern that I keep hearing about with data centers is power,
Okay.
right? And so folks are concerned that you build all these data centers, they use a lot of electricity.
Hmm.
That is true.
So let us
Um,
build a nuclear plant.
right. So that was what I was going to ask is effectively, um, should they have to provide their own power? Do we find cheaper ways to provide power like nuclear? Do we do other things?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of
Because nobody wants their power bill to go up.
right, right. And so yeah, these data centers should be paying for what they're using. So I think what we get caught up on is there's only one way to power something, and that's
Hmm.
the grid.
Right.
However, uh,
But it's the easiest way for them to get power too is to hook into the grid.
right. Uh, Doing what's easiest is not always what's best.
I know. I'm just saying the
Yeah,
incentive is to go that way.
absolutely, absolutely. And so that would be my argument is not only these data centers, but also population
Uh-huh.
as a whole, like we need to be more energy independent.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to advocate for people getting off the grid as much as they can, right? Whether that's solar power, wind power, um, there's
Those have their own
nuclear.
problems too.
They have their own right, right. So like on my home, I have solar panels, but they only work in the sun.
Right.
And so I want to also pair that with wind power
Hmm.
so that I'm always producing something. Now there's going to be times where it's
Yeah.
dead,
There's no wind and no sun. Yeah.
bad day. But that's kind of my
Or at
point.
night.
Or sure,
Yeah.
right. And so that's kind of my point is you need to diversify, right? You
Right.
wouldn't throw all of your money in one nest egg.
Hmm.
So it's diversifying. And so we as a state need to diversify our energy.
Right.
So we need to have nuclear, we need to have solar, we need to have all these sources for power so that it's just constantly producing and then we have more energy to give.
Right.
And if more people are producing energy as well, then it's not as big of a drain on the system. Now, these data centers, I imagine that they're going to be warehouses.
Hmm.
So that's a great opportunity to throw solar panels up there.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of warehouse space,
Yep.
roof space that's wasted.
Yep.
And so they could utilize that, which would offset some of that.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that there's just more more things that can be done, and it's diversifying.
Yep. Makes sense. Um, until recently, you kind of talked about this a little bit
Okay.
already. Until recently, Utah has been considered a local control state.
Hmm.
Now, state mandates are overriding city zoning and planning decisions,
Yeah.
and the state spent $2 million in taxpayer money on commercials promoting what it calls a housing shortage.
Yeah.
Who should have the final say on local planning, zoning, and housing? Cities or the state? I think you kind of answered that, but you can go into more detail if you want.
Okay.
And also, should Utah have a version of the Smith-Mundt Act preventing taxpayer funds from being used on government PR campaigns?
Well, I'm going to address that last one because that seems like a no-brainer. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm confused. Do we not already?
No, there's no state law prohibiting it. The federal
That's
government has it.
wild.
That's what the Smith-Mundt Act is.
Okay.
Is basically the federal government can't propagandize us.
Yeah.
Um, Now, it get on this one, I will admit that there's a little bit of nuance to it, right?
Yeah.
Because the state does have an interest in giving us information about what it's doing.
Right.
And so some people have argued that in this case, they're letting us know that there is a housing shortage and that they're doing something about it.
Right.
But other people claim that the housing shortage is due to specific political decisions, and therefore it falls more toward the propaganda and less toward the information.
I see. Um, right. Yeah. So that's going to be kind of a tricky issue. So I think for sure politicians' names should be, and their pictures, their image should be kept off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, I I've listened to radio ads, saw billboard
Mm-hmm.
ads where they throw the attorney on there or
Mm-hmm.
the lieutenant governor uh, advocating for that issue, and I I understand the argument. Oh, it gives it more clout because it's the lieutenant governor or it's the
Mm-hmm.
attorney general. But I think that that crosses the line where uh, we know that the more money you have in politics, the more likely it is
Mm-hmm.
for you to get reelected.
Yep.
And if you're using government funds, that could be easily seen as cheating.
Yeah.
And so I would be opposed to those. When it comes to the other ones, yeah, you're right. It's not a black and white issue.
Yeah.
It's very gray. Um, so I think that whatever is sent out needs to be absolutely based in fact.
Okay. What about the zoning?
The zoning, so should be controlled by cities. So now there's going to be there has to be collaboration
Mm-hmm.
because there are infrastructure that needs
Right.
to happen. There are state roads that go through cities. There's freeways
Mm-hmm.
that go through cities, through counties, and so as much as cities want to say, "Oh, it's solely, completely our uh, jurisdiction on how we build our city," for I believe for most things, yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, uh, a lot of these roads are either already there or we need roads, or we should have planned for bigger roads like Pioneer Crossing a long time
You
ago.
drove on that, huh?
Oh my gosh, that's a mess. And I mean, you hit certain points of Pioneer Crossing, and
Uh-huh.
it's like, why'd you build a house here?
Yeah.
Why'd you build a home here? Because you should have planned for the future and thought, oh, we need to have a bigger easement. And so there are those things that need to happen, particularly with roads.
Yeah.
Roads are costing us billions of dollars, and I think that we could save a lot of money. And I don't know if it would be in the billions, but anytime, so if we have to expand the freeway, which if our population keeps going like it is, we're going to have to.
Uh-huh.
And so if cities are allowing homes to be built right next to the freeway in 20 years, I'm just throwing that out there. Uh, Eventually, we're going to have to eminent domain that.
Right.
We're going to have to pay top dollar and tear down that house. So taxpayers are never going to see an ROI, a return on investment for that home because they just tore it down
Mm-hmm.
for free. Or like it's wasteful.
Right.
So we're costing people in the past are costing taxpayer dollars now, and we need to be careful to prevent that moving forward.
Okay.
Um, and so if we look Eagle Mountain
Mm-hmm.
over that area, if that's going to keep growing and expanding, and looking down where I'm at, that's we're going to connect on that side.
Yep.
So if we don't plan a major road
Uh-huh.
on that side, then we're going to end up with another Pioneer Crossing.
Yeah.
And so the state has to look at that and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. but be collaborative with cities and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do road wise, infrastructure wise. So the city should be planning, okay, this is what we want to build here and
Mm-hmm.
here. And then the state can say, okay, that's what you want to do. So then we're going to need a road this big. We're going to need this much water pipeline. This is what we're going to need infrastructure wise, and just plan for it.
Yeah. Well, the state has a 50-year transportation master plan,
Great.
and the cities are all aware of it.
Okay.
So hopefully this is all happening.
I would hope so, but
But there is plenty of evidence to the contrary.
there 100% is. I had somebody, we have a state road going through Spanish Fork, and they said that road's going to it's a 2 lane, it's going to eventually need to have 5 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And but the city just built a transfer station right next to the road on one side,
Right.
and they were telling me, hey, if they build something else on the other side, they're going to limit their road expansion.
Yeah.
And so,
Saratoga Springs has had that issue
okay.
with Redwood Road because they allowed businesses to build right up to Redwood Road.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And yeah, now they have traffic snarls, like bad traffic.
Right.
And yeah, it's the same issue. It's like, okay, so which side of businesses do we rip out? Or do we just
Right.
deal with it?
Right. Well, and I don't know if it's Redwood Road, but we probably need another I-215 like on that side because
Yeah. Well, they're putting Mountain View corridor in, but I don't know how long that's going to
oh,
take.
okay. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to
Yeah.
collaborate better.
Yeah.
So instead of
Absolutely.
going in and just picking fights with people, I don't know of many situations where fighting with somebody got a good solution.
Right.
It's the collaboration, right?
So
You
does
have your opinions,
Mhm.
but you got to collaborate.
so does do they keep doing what they're doing now where they have that master plan and then the cities kind of plan around it? Or does the state actually tell them, no, you don't build a transfer station right next to the road?
Well, so the beautiful thing about these plans, and I was at Spanish Fork City Council
Uh-huh.
this last one Tuesday, I think, and they were making updates to their master plan,
Mm-hmm.
which 100% like they made this a long time ago and they're updating it. So I don't think that we should be so rigid on these plans where we say nope,
Yeah.
they were geniuses back then. They knew what was best for us. We're gonna go with that. The plan. So generally we should be following it,
Right.
but there can be little modifications here and there.
All right. Um, Utah surveillance infrastructure is growing.
Yes.
License plate readers that issue automated tickets.
Okay.
I think they piloted that and then got rid of it.
That's
I
what I
think too
heard.
many people complained,
That's what I heard.
but that's one thing that they tried.
Yeah.
Expanded monitoring. I mean, they're putting cameras up in more places, and with
Yeah.
the 2034 Olympics approaching, significant additional surveillance build out is expected, just as occurred with the previous Utah Olympics.
Okay.
Do you believe people have an inherent right to privacy in public spaces? And where specifically do you draw the line on government surveillance tools?
Uh, Great question, and I've gotten this question before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 100% opposed to the license plate ticketers. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think robots should be citing people. Um, uh, the world that we are entering into is embracing AI.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're not careful and we allow AI to police us and be our judge, jury, executioner, I think that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should definitely not head that direction. Uh, and in the Utah Constitution as well, there are judicial protections,
Right.
and a large part of the judicial system is to show to there's an aspect of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
So the legislator, we pass laws,
Right.
and then the judiciary, they go in and they essentially judge based on those laws.
Right.
But there is a certain aspect of mercy that's built into that,
Mm-hmm.
especially with juries
Right.
being judged by your peers. And so, yes, we need to make sure that laws and rules are followed. But if we're being governed by robots to my knowledge, don't understand
Right.
mercy,
Mm-hmm.
empathy. And I don't know if they ever will,
Yeah.
because it's a very human concept.
Right.
And so I think that we need to safeguard that and keep that pure. Now, getting to your other question about all the surveillance. So I think that when you're inside your home,
Mm-hmm.
you absolutely should have 100% privacy.
Right.
Um, a lot of people carry phones with them
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot of their information on it. That is on your person.
Right.
Your person should be private.
Right.
Now, when you then go into public spaces, I think that's where there needs to be more of an understanding of you're in a public space.
Okay.
So do I recognize that I'm going to be recorded when
Mm-hmm.
I'm out in public?
Yeah.
Yes. I recognize that we have cameras all over the place.
Right.
I'm not going to go out and sue the government because they captured my image.
Right.
Now, if they did that inside my home, I
Right.
would have serious issues with that. But out in public, there has to be that understanding of, yes, I'm in a public space. Um, Now, that being said, what we have to be careful of is when we're building all this surveillance equipment in public, uh, and what we're being told is, oh yeah, we're not going to use it for to issue citations or
Uh-huh.
to police you. Um, well, I've heard that before. Uh, Not many people have read 1984.
Uh-huh.
If not, you should. Uh, and if we're not careful, that's what we're gonna end up.
Mm-hmm.
And so same idea. They were monitored and in their own home even.
Right.
So honestly, we're 4 years away at any given time from all those cameras they're building to issue citations
Uh-huh.
to police us, because that's how long it takes for the entire legislature to turn over.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could get all brand new people in there who decides, oh yeah, this is what we want to do. We have the infrastructure in place to do this. Now we just have to flip the switch and start issuing the citations.
Right.
So that would be my hesitation with building all the surveillance is, and they did that with my irrigation system,
Right.
right? So when I first moved in, um, it was, I just paid a flat rate.
Yep. Same here.
And then the state legislator said you have to put a meter in there, and they
Mm-hmm.
told us we're not going to charge you for your usage.
Well,
We
that
just
was
want
up
to
to the
track it.
city. The city got to choose that.
Right. And the city was saying the same thing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're tracking it. And I said, when they put it in, I said, give it 2 years.
Yep.
And now I'm being charged for my usage.
Yep.
And so that's my fear, is what's going to happen with all surveillance is, oh yeah, we're not going to use it to track you. We're not going to use it for these nefarious purposes. A couple of years down the road, oh yeah, we're going to use it for that.
Yeah, that's in general, that's the concern that I typically am hearing. And I work in technology, and so I can see where a lot of this could be used that way, right?
Yeah.
Where you gather all the data
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, whatever. But the second that you turn something on that evaluates it, and then maybe it's not even that you or I are committing a crime, but somebody has some axe to grind with me,
Right.
and they can see how I move or where I go
Yeah.
or what I'm doing or whatever, and they turn it into a problem for me.
Yeah. So something else we have to be careful of is, uh, we should only be convicted of a crime that we've actually committed.
Yeah.
So, and I bring that up because that's where we would go with those kind of algorithms is, oh, you were likely to do that.
Right.
You were going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as much as I'm an advocate of prevention, when it comes to convicting people of crimes, they have to commit a crime first.
Yeah. But even in the court of public opinion, I mean, you can create we've seen him go here a bunch of times. We've seen him do that
Yeah.
kind of a thing a bunch of
Well,
times.
I think there's a lot of issues with our court
Yeah.
systems right now.
Yeah.
So I would want to see some reform there.
Yep. That's a question I'm asking the senators.
Okay.
Because they can, what is it?
Is it the impeachment?
Advise and consent.
Advice and consent. Okay.
I think the House can impeach judges.
Okay.
That's a different issue.
That's a question I've gotten.
Okay, well, let me ask the rest of the privacy
Perfect.
question, and then we'll go to something related.
Okay.
Utah is pushing legislation requiring adults to photograph their driver's license to access certain online content in the name of protecting children. Do
Right.
you see privacy concerns here?
100%. I was opposed to that.
Okay.
So,
What about protecting the kids?
well, that's the argument
I
that
know.
everyone uses.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like this is the, I guess, the public good or the common good versus your personal freedoms and your privacy.
So, not everybody likes what I'm about to say,
Okay.
but where are the parents?
No, that's fair.
It's
But
parents' responsibility.
yeah, but at the same time, that's a different issue. It's down to,
Hmm.
should I have to scan my ID if I want to
Sure.
watch dirty pictures on the computer?
Right. Well, and so because the law was passed for the children, like it's absolutely related
Mhm.
because they tied it together. And so no, you shouldn't have to. Um, and if because we brought children into it, the concern is, well, then they're going to be able to access all these things. Well, we need to parent better. And
Yeah.
people don't like to hear that. And there's people want to just have the government parent for them.
Hmm.
And we were talking about government's proper role. Government's role is not to raise children. It can
Yeah.
help support families and facilitate that, but it should be happening in the home.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that ostensibly, at least, you're making the adults show the ID. So
Right.
you're policing the adults. You're
Right.
not even policing the kids.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so I'm opposed to that whole idea because yeah, it's a privacy concern. And uh, the federal government decided magically that 18 was the number where you can just have access to most everything,
Hmm.
um, which kind of a silly number, but it is what it is. But the point being, yeah, once you turn 18, like, why are you having to get permission to access all these things?
Right.
I'm opposed to those things.
Right. Okay.
We're taking away personal freedom.
Yep. So related to the judge impeachment, I think
Okay.
most people who are asking about that are getting into the proposition for
Right.
the boundaries lawsuit. If
Yeah.
you're not following along, the Cliff Notes version is that a few years ago they passed a citizens initiative that created a council that's supposed to help the legislature draw the boundaries for all of the legislative districts in Utah. So that's congressional, the legislators, the state school board, like all of that. And it's supposed to be bipartisan and avoid gerrymandering. And a group, Mormon Women for Ethical Government, sued
Mhm.
the state, stating that the legislature had more or less ignored that rule and had drawn the lines anyway. The counter argument is that the state constitution says that the legislature draws the lines, and so
Right.
they didn't have to consult such group.
Right.
So yeah, so where are you at on all that, and can we impeach judges?
Well, big question there. So can we impeach judges? 100% yes.
Yeah,
And
should we? I guess is more the question.
should we? And should we over this issue?
Right.
Well, I think that sometimes the legislator doesn't time things very well.
Uh-huh.
And so if they were to impeach those judges, and I haven't looked at this myself, but I've been told that Utah has never impeached a judge.
That's my understanding. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And I'm frankly inclined to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I have no reason not to believe it. And so for us to start now in this case
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of mistrust with the
Right.
legislator, and that would just throw a big bucket of gasoline onto the
Right.
flame. And so I think the timing is very poor there.
Mm-hmm.
If the legislator is trying to rebuild trust.
Right.
Now, the whole idea of impeachment, so there are guidelines in the Constitution, right? This is a judge's role, and this is these are the conditions for when you should impeach somebody. And so just because I disagree with somebody doesn't mean that I
Right.
should remove them from their office.
Right.
And so I am going to make sure that I understand those guidelines and that I understand, okay, this judge either did or did not follow the do what they were supposed to. So if they meet that criteria for impeachment, yeah, I'll support that.
Yep.
But if it's just a, all right, let's get you out of the way so that I get my way, not going to do it.
Right. Prop four.
Prop four. Let's talk prop four. So I think the legislators shot themselves in the foot on this one. So when it passed the first time, and they and Prop Four wasn't, they were saying was just an advisory role,
Mm-hmm.
and they just completely ignored them. And they said, well, we're going to do whatever, we're going to do what we want to do anyway,
Right.
because it's our right. And you know, I can't, hindsight, like I can't read the future, so I can't
Right.
say this for sure, but I would suppose, injecture, that if the legislator had worked with them more and not gone with their map completely,
Right.
but if they had made compromises here and there, um, I'm not convinced that we'd be in the legal battle
Okay.
we are in right now. And
Okay.
so I think the legislator, and that's why I say they shot themselves in the foot,
Right.
is they said, uh, no, we're going to do what we're going to do. And then it went to the courts, and I do disagree with the Supreme Court
Mm-hmm.
on their decision on what a referendum is.
Right.
And I definitely disagree with Judge Gibson and
Right.
her ruling, legislating from the bench.
Right.
She shouldn't have done that. So that being said, I think the legislator is also, for whatever reason, they've pulled back from this issue.
Uh-huh.
So the question I'm asking myself is, why didn't they run a constitutional amendment to fix this?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, there was the whole Prop 4, repeal Prop 4, which unfortunately uh, isn't going to be on the ballot, so we don't
Right.
get, people don't get a vote on it.
Right.
Um, and it would have been interesting to see, because if people said, no, we want it, okay, great. But if they were like, oh no, we don't actually want it, it would have been interesting
Right.
to see. So what I think the legislator definitely needs to do is they need to run one of two constitutional amendments, which then also, the constitutional amendments have to go before a popular vote.
Right.
And so they either, one, need to run a constitutional amendment which clarifies the referendum process so that the Supreme Court rules
Right.
differently, right? Clarifies this is what a referendum is, because right now the referendums are being treated on the same level as a constitutional amendment,
Right.
which I love the referendum process. I think that it's part of the Constitution. It's an important safeguard for the people. So efforts to make it more difficult, I'm generally opposed to. But the constitutional amendment would clarify, okay, this is what a referendum actually is and
Right.
does. Or they need to run a constitutional amendment which does just that, says, okay, if a referendum is going to be treated the same as a constitutional amendment, then it needs to meet the same passing criteria.
It has to be ratified by the legislature.
Ratified by the legislator, and I believe it's a 60% majority popular vote.
I don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure, but I think it should be
Uh-huh.
a simple majority for a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Right.
And so the legislator needs to run one of those,
Right.
to clarify this whole process. And then I think that we would be able to continue living in peace with referendums, whereas right now there's a huge uproar, and people are mad with the referendum process, people are mad with the legislators, so we just need to clarify those
Right.
things, and that's the legislator's role.
Yep. Let me check the time. We're getting close on time.
Okay.
Signature path in SB 54.
Uh, if I had it my way, I would outright repeal it.
Okay.
Somebody asked me that. They said, "Hey, if you were in power right now and whatever you said goes, like, what's the first thing you do?" And I said, "Repeal SB 54,
All right.
because then that brings back the beauty of the caucus convention system, and that I mean, we don't even have to like remove people. Like,
Yep.
the system will then take care of itself,
Yep.
and will get better politicians.
Yep.
Because, whoa, delegates ask great questions.
We're kind of mean that way. Anyway.
I have not
Yeah.
cried much.
Oh, we're not asking hard enough questions. No, I'm just kidding. All right. The Build Coordinating Council is made up of NGOs appointed by the executive branch, including MAG, it's a Mountain Land Association of Governments,
Okay.
UAC, which is the Utah Association of Counties,
Okay.
and the Utah League of Cities and Towns,
Okay.
and advises on policy that then gets pushed through the legislature as mandates on local governments. Utah's recent legislation also appears to parallel the UN's Agenda 2030 in areas like housing density, mass transit, surveillance, and water management, and the legislature has increasingly deferred to national and international standards in areas like water construction, wildland, and energy policy. Is this a coincidence, innovation, or a sovereignty concern? And what specifically would you do to ensure elected officials, not unelected bodies or outside frameworks, are driving Utah's policies?
Great question. So what we have to remember is that communism didn't go away. It just changed its face.
Okay.
Communism, socialism. So those ideas, that ideology, it's been working on America for decades. And if we think that it's gone, like, that's a big issue. So we have to recognize that there are people actively pushing that,
Mm-hmm.
those agendas, which is some of the issues with some of those groups. And so we have to recognize that, and we absolutely have to guard against that. Um, so back to my earlier statements, taxation without representation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Representatives, and I would argue the same thing about rules, mandates, laws,
Mm-hmm.
is rules, laws should be coming from your elected officials.
Right.
There are bills that the legislator passes that uh, are thousands of pages of these
Mm-hmm.
mandates from these entities that just get passed.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee they're not reading them. And if anybody is, bless their heart, um, how much of that do you understand?
Right.
Now, I don't agree with a unilateral, yeah, these mandates now are law. Go forth
Mm-hmm.
and enforce them. Uh, and so we need to, and I wish I had a solution. We need to find a better
Uh-huh.
way to put a check and balance on that, because we want things to continue running and operating. So
Right.
we don't want things to come to a screeching halt, because that
Right.
would cause a whole set
Mm-hmm.
of issues. But we also don't want these unelected officials mandating things. And so I think a good start to that is not automatically passing those things, having uh, having more eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if the legislator didn't look at so many bills, maybe they would have more time to look at these really important ones. So like the field I work in, we have hundreds of pages of contracts that I have to look through,
Right.
and I usually have to do a search to find the
Mm-hmm.
section that
Right.
I need in the moment. And so even in my industry, there's so much that I haven't read, that I'm being forced to comply with. Like,
Right.
we have departments in my company that pour over that contract to, okay, here's a rule that we have to follow. Here's
Mm-hmm.
a rule that we have to follow.
Right.
And so it really does take a whole team to go through and analyze those things, but also the wording. Worrying
Right.
on things matters. So yeah, I don't believe in just unilaterally passing all these things in a unibus bill.
Right.
Um, is there a better way to do it?
Yeah.
No.
Well, specifically, like, what do you do to make sure that you're not just being suckered into, or
Right.
whatever some of these other agendas?
Yeah. So it's hard to know who you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also trust is a funny thing too, because you don't have to completely 100% trust somebody to go with what they say, right?
Right.
So if I'm talking to somebody from the city of leagues and towns,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I can trust that they are going to be looking at this issue from a certain lens.
Okay.
And so if I recognize that, I can take that information and analyze it from that perspective. There's always multiple perspectives on any given issue. So if I'm getting this and I'm getting that, then my role as a legislator is to make the best decision possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as much as I would love to say, oh yeah, I'm never going to make a mistake, it's going to happen. And
Yep.
there's going to be things where I thought I understood something, and well, and right, because people can look at the same sentence and interpret it different ways. So I may have looked at it and said, oh yeah, that's clear. But then in the implementation of it, oh, those people are not understanding it. We need to clarify that.
Right.
So we have to be willing to go back and fine tune those things,
Yep.
but careful not to overregulate.
Yep. All right. You kind of touched on a bunch of this stuff. So this is
Okay.
the final question before I ask kind of the last two that I hold in reserve.
Okay.
The legislative session moves fast, often too fast to fully read every bill.
Right.
Leadership bills come with political and financial consequences for dissent, since leadership controls a PAC that's funded by lobbyists and influences appointments to coveted positions. At the 11th hour of the 2025 session, a large portion of the Great Salt Lake was sold to the federal government. Rules are regularly suspended at the end of the session to rush bills through.
Right.
HB 48 collaborated with insurance companies in the DNR to redraw fire risk lines, resulting in major rate
Yeah.
increases and policy cancellations for homeowners. What is your personal standard for voting on legislation? And do you have the courage to vote no on a leadership bill, an omnibus bill, or any bill you haven't had adequate time to read and understand?
Yeah. Really great question. This is one I've gotten quite often. And yeah, it's definitely an issue. So what I have to be careful of as a legislator is to not be shoved in a corner,
Uh huh.
because then I'm useless to the people I represent.
Okay.
So as much as I hate the game,
Mm hmm.
there is a game,
Okay.
and you have to play within those rules, but also be willing to push certain ones when um, when it's absolutely
Mm hmm.
necessary. And so on certain issues, it's hard to say right now, what are my hard fast lines,
Right.
because I have to get a feel for um, the leadership up
Okay.
there. Like I did spend a couple days up there,
Mm hmm.
so I have an idea. But as much as I would love to go up there, guns a blazing, and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to vote no on all these things. Unfortunately, how it's set up currently is I would very quickly be put in a corner, and nothing I do will then matter,
Okay.
because everyone's gonna the powers that be are gonna say, make sure he doesn't get anything done, even
Yeah.
if it's something good.
Right.
So I have to be smart about it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to play my cards right. So yeah, I want to be able to go in and make a difference.
Mm hmm.
And so are there going to be times where I may vote on a bill that, if I think that it's going to cause harm, or it's definitely problematic, oh yeah, I'm going to vote no on that.
Right.
Um, but I'm going to have a very good reason for that. Um, am I going to vote yes on a bill that I have not completely read? To be honest, yes. there will be those moments. So, for example, the Utah County Party sets up,
Hmm.
oh shoot, the name just left me.
The legislative collaborative
Yeah,
committees.
yeah, those. And so I hope that my district gets one
Hmm.
organized and that they help me review those bills. And my hope is that they'll point out, hey, make sure you look at this part of this bill, look at this part of that bill. And so, again, that lens, I'm going to use the party platform
Hmm.
because I'm representing the
Right.
Republican Party. And um, and so if there's an issue and it goes against the platform, I want to know about that so that I can say, oh, okay, that's an issue. We either need to change that or I'm going to vote no on it.
Right.
And so every bill I vote no on, and yes, is I want to have a reason, and not just a, oh, yeah, I had a nice title.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to need help going through these bills. And I would hope that people come to me and say, hey, take a look at this one, take a look at that one. Um, but then there's going to be some bills where I look through very quickly, don't see any major issues. Okay, that's a yes,
All right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. What about omnibus bills?
Well, I just talked about one. Not a fan of
Okay.
omnibus bills. So I think the legislator, on the most part, does a pretty good job of not doing omnibus bills, to my knowledge.
I think it's in the state constitution. They have to be single topic bills.
Right.
But
So there are a
sometimes I've
couple.
seen some that I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, weaseled that one through.
you got to explain to me how this is a single topic bill.
Right. So there's two that I am aware of, and that's the mandates,
Uh
the
huh.
rules and procedures for these organizations, and then there's the alcohol bill. So everything that has to do with alcohol gets lumped into an
Yeah.
omnibus bill, which I think is interesting. Um, I don't know why that couldn't be split apart.
Right.
I understand why they did it,
Yeah.
but I I'm not a fan of omnibus bills
All right.
because right, there's going to be those parts of it where okay, I agree with 99% of this bill, but this 1% is a no from me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's going to be hard because okay, what about all this good stuff in here? And
Right.
so if it were spread out into smaller bills, it would be a lot easier to say, oh yeah, yes, 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 that's a no.
Yeah. All right. If you're elected, who's your boss and how do they hold you accountable?
Well, the delegates,
Okay.
right? Because I'm always going to go through the convention process,
Okay.
and I've had that question from delegates like, hey, who's going to hold you accountable? And I said, you better hold me accountable.
Uh huh.
And if you don't like what I'm doing, you better vote me out.
Right.
And
Sometimes that takes 2 years though. So in the meantime,
that's
how do
true.
we hold you accountable?
Well, there's a lot of trust
Uh huh.
in your elected representative because they're in for 2 years.
Right.
Um, so you better hope you like me. But that's so communication is a two-way street.
Uh huh.
So a lot of people have said, how are you going to reach out to us? How are you going to stay connected to us? And
Mm-hmm.
I put it back and I say, how are you going to connect? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
will absolutely make resources available, but let's see, I was looking at the population in my district. I think it's at least 40,000 people.
Uh huh.
Um, and it's impossible for me to connect with every single one of them.
Right.
And so I'm going to do my best to have outlets and resources where people can connect with me. And then I'm going to push it back on them,
Right.
you guys and gals, to utilize those outlets to communicate with me. And I've made a commitment to people, and I'm okay sharing it because I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna it's I'm gonna hold to it. Is if you reach out to me, if you email me, you call me, I may not get back to you right
Mm-hmm.
away, but I will get back to you. And if I don't, keep bugging me because maybe the call didn't go through.
Right.
But that's my commitment. Is I'm gonna get back to you.
All right. You're running as a Republican, so how does the party hold you accountable, or how do you hold yourself accountable to the party?
Well, I was a precinct chair the last two
Mm-hmm.
years, and we voted to censure the legislator a couple times to voice our opinion, and so I would expect to continue receiving those letters, and I would definitely take that into consideration. I know Christy likes to spend time up at the Capitol too.
Lots of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
Uh,
it too. It's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so, right. I recognize that I'm running as a Republican
Hmm.
representing the party. And so, uh, you, Vice Chair Christy, the party leadership, um, are you going to be able to come in and say, hey, you have to vote this way? Yeah, I don't do that. But can you come in and say, hey, Matt, look at this and see how it lines up with the party platform?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Right. So I read the party platform and the new one.
Uh-huh.
I was at the meeting at the central committee meeting
Right.
where we voted to send that to convention.
Yep.
I've read it and I feel comfortable saying that I agree wholeheartedly with 98% of it.
Hmm.
And the other percent is, well, there's some typos that need to be fixed.
Yes.
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's gonna be a process.
Yeah.
But then there's just like one or two other things where I agree a little bit differently.
Hmm.
But that's gonna happen in a party,
Yeah, there were a few things that we knew people were gonna,
right?
you
There's
know,
not,
some people are gonna be in line in this,
yeah,
and some will be a little different, and then on the other one, yeah, this, yeah.
yeah. And so when the platform gets ratified and you start printing off copies, I would expect to get one so I can keep it on my desk.
Mm. All right. Last question. Do you have a website, email address, or phone number you want people to know about?
I do. Right here, I've got my flyer. So my phone number is 801 210 1577. Again, if I don't answer, leave me a voicemail. I'll call you back. And then my website, it's a free one. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of long. So you'll do better to do a Google search, Matt Durrant 64, and then the word WIX. And that should pull up my website.
Okay.
So
Good deal.
that's me.
All right.
Vote for
Thanks,
me.
Matt. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate you.